Okay, today we're going to react to this internet video on emergency funds. I'm interested to see what they have to say. Let's make a checklist of the things that I expect them to say. Emergency funds should be 3 months of expenses up to a year of expenses. 3 months is more dangerous. 1 year is pretty conservative. Normally we're going for 6 months of expenses. Emergency funds are used for unexpected expenses. So if you have something you have to pay for unexpectedly, you use your emergency fund. And then after you pay, everything goes back to filling that emergency fund back up. You put all your extra money to get it back to its level. You don't buy anything you don't need until your emergency fund is filled back up. Getting an emergency fund is the first most important thing. Getting 3 months of emergency money is more important even than putting into your retirement account. 3 months emergency fund is the most important thing that you have to do with your money as soon as you can. You should also be able to get to your money within like 2 days. So make sure some of your emergency fund is exactly, you're able to get it by writing a check or getting it out of an ATM. You have to be able to get it within a couple days. But most of your emergency fund should be in the highest, safest account you can get. And that's probably going to be an online savings account. You don't want to invest your emergency fund because then it can go up and down with the stock market. You want it in something locked in. And usually the best you can get is going to be high interest savings accounts online, and maybe the bulk of it could be in online CDs. Usually online accounts through online banks give you a better interest. But remember, you have to be able to get a hold of that money within a couple days. The best way to make an emergency fund is to have a budget. And then when you have a budget, you're able to put aside and grow your emergency fund every month until it's where you want. And this isn't something a lot of people do. Over half of Americans don't have $500 in an emergency fund. It's what's called living paycheck to paycheck, is not having an emergency fund. So over half of Americans don't have a certain amount, about $500. Okay, let's see how they do.
If you had an emergency and needed to come up with $400 right now, could you do it?
Yes.
Shockingly, nearly half of Americans said they couldn't, which is another way of saying that nearly half of Americans
Check it off the
have
list.
no financial flexibility or freedom.
While it might not be the flashiest or most exciting financial goal, an emergency fund is the foundation your entire financial health is built upon.
Oh, that house is gonna fall. It's not built on a concrete foundation. It's built on stilts, bad stilts.
Without it, it's just a matter of time before an unexpected jolt causes a crack that will eventually bring the whole house down.
We recently asked you, our amazing 2 Cents community, to share your real life stories about how an emergency fund, or lack thereof, has impacted your lives, and you really came through.
So let's learn from each other what not having savings is truly costing you, and pick up some tips for finally making it a reality.
2005. I am going to have to research that. It's 15 years later. Is that when they graduated college? Is that when they got married? I don't know. Why 2005?
Rose and her husband were in the military making decent money as she finished up college. Unfortunately, they didn't see any real need to save any of it. So the day Rose was supposed to leave for a study abroad program, her husband totals their new car on the way to the airport, rendering them both carless and cashless.
So what if you found yourself in a similar situation?
Well, you'd have to see if insurance covered it. And if not, well, I mean, it is a new car. You should have insurance and collision insurance. But if not, emergency fund.
How much money could you save by having a proper emergency fund if your car decides to kick the bucket? I think it's time to run the numbers.
Running numbers. Cars are one of the things you use your emergency fund the most.
Let's assume you are, for lack of a better word, average. Most people...
Too real.
When buying a car, buy used with an average purchase price of $20,084.
Wait. The average person buys a used car for $20,000?
Used with an average purchase price of Let's assume you are, for lack of a better word, average. Most people, when buying a car, buy used with an average purchase price of $20,084.
Oh my God! No, that's awful. You're buying. What are you buying a tank? Are you literally buying a tank? $20,000 for a used car? Well, okay. Oh man, no. You could get You could get more than you need as a new car for $20,000. You can get a totally fine car for $17,000, and you could get a 5-year-old used car for $10,000. There's no reason to spend that much money on a used car, and it's barely a reason to spend that much money on a new car. Ooh, watch my video.
You've also got the average American credit score of 673 and want the most common car loan length of 72 months.
Okay, again, the most common car loan is 72 months. You're going to be paying a lot on that. You want 4 years or 5 years to get the sweet spot of the interest rate. When you go that long, interest is way up. 673 is not a horrible credit score, but you want to be over 700. Credit score is how good you are paying back your loans. And you never want to be late in a payment of a loan, and that'll bring down your credit score. You want to aim for over 700. 750 over really to get the best rates. So this is actually meh, and a very long car loan. They're going to pay way too much for this car loan.
Running this scenario through a big named bank gave me an APR estimate of 7.94%. That means you'd be potentially paying a gobsmacking $5,000 in interest alone over the lifetime of that loan.
Okay, so what you have to do is you have to have a good credit score. You have to get a loan length for 5 years or 4 years. And this year, this would be almost free money at 2.7% interest. Okay, so this is like worst case scenario, but it's good to use the worst case scenario to show just how much borrowing you're going to have to pay.
You or they had even a little bit of an emergency fund. You could have potentially afforded a shorter loan term, gotten a better interest rate, or maybe even skipped out on interest altogether and just bought a cheaper car in cash, all of which could have saved you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars.
Another common unexpected expense you guys talked about were house repairs.
Yep, that's a biggie. Water heater goes, and that's $1,000 right there. Water heater. Furnace goes, that's $3,000 right there. You can get away with having a leak in a roof for a year. Just put a bucket under it. But once you replace a roof, that's $6,000. Rock crashes through your window. It's like $500. There's plenty of things you got to do with your house for, yeah.
Poor Brianna and her husband woke up on one of the coldest days in winter with flames shooting from the back of their furnace.
It's always the coldest day of the winter. It always, happens to me, and exactly what flames from the furnace. I assume they're okay. That's why I'm laughing. Flames, that sucks. Furnace, told you.
Thankfully, they had $3,500 in savings to keep frostbite at bay, but what if they had approached it like most people would and put those repairs on a credit card?
Oh God, that'd be awful.
Treating your credit cards like an emergency fund is like trying to use one of those weighted workout vests as a life jacket. With the average current credit card interest rate at 19.24%,
she's right.
Financing a vital repair like that could have cost them an extra $673, even if they managed to pay it off in 1 year.
Right. So, I mean, it's just credit card interest. You never carry a balance because the interest rate is so much. It's just don't do it.
That number could have easily climbed into the thousands if they stretched it out over a few years.
But the lack of an emergency fund can cost you more than money. After a year of battling an illness, one of our YouTube community members, Almost Lindsay, ended up needing an emergency surgery. Thankfully, she had decent health insurance, so it shouldn't have been a big deal. The problem was she'd already used up her sick leave at work, so the time she'd be spending in the hospital would also be no paycheck time.
So some people through their jobs have very good health insurance. Other people that don't have the very good health insurance through their jobs, it's called a deductible. That insurance won't even pay out until you've spent $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a year. So literally one emergency room visit, insurance might not even cover it until it's over $5,000, and so you're stuck with that. And that's emergency room visit, emergency fund. I forgot about that one. And then no paycheck.
And no access to credit because of her lack of income. She was forced to beg friends and family to help her cover her basics like rent and food until she could get back to work. She recalled the whole situation being both stressful and humiliating, and has worked hard to save up a cash cushion in the time since.
So I cannot emphasize that last point enough, how worrying about finances is a stressor in life and causing stress. And one of the best ways to remove that is to not worry about finances by having an emergency fund. When you're worried about going into debt, being in debt, having to pay for something, the stress of finances makes everything you do, even the things you want to do in life, infinitely more difficult and infinitely more stressful.
Then there's Ashley, who said having an emergency fund may have saved her life. She had a suspicion that she might be suffering from sleep apnea, but quickly learned that the testing and equipment involved wouldn't come cheap. She said that having her emergency fund gave her the confidence to schedule an appointment with her doctor. Thank goodness she did. Turns out tests showed her hunch was correct, and the lack of oxygen during sleep had been significantly taxing her heart. Thankfully, she told us after a 6-month treatment, she's doing much better.
Now, I'm sure you're thinking, I get it, Philip and Julia, I need an emergency fund, but how do I get one?
Here are our favorite 3 tips to start laying down your financial foundation the right way. Tip 1, pick a specific number. Most experts agree that a fully funded emergency fund should have between 3 and 6 months of expenses. This number isn't just based on bills and rent, but also flexible expenses like groceries, medications, and transportation.
Basically,
that is typically enough to pay deductibles on your health or auto insurance, and could also potentially handle a major transition like a sudden move or a critical home repair.
You should be able to go through your regular existence without income, because the emergency fund should take care of it. That's what you're going for. So, yep, we got that. 3 to 6 months, even though, and 1 year would be conservative. So I got that.
Tip 2, get organized. Now that you have a savings
That sounds like a budget.
target in mind, set your money for this goal apart in some way. If your savings for emergencies, a new phone, and your brother's bachelor party are smashed together in a general savings bucket, you're sabotaging yourself.
Right, that's not how budgeting works. So I got that one too. Have a budget.
Get clear on what money is for true emergencies and give it a special home.
Tip 3, sprint. Sometimes to get something you've never had, you'll have to do something you've never done.
And that's put it ahead of everything else, even retirement account.
Try challenging yourself to a spending freeze. Cut back on every non-essential expense and hustle for any extra income you can for just 1 month. Seriously, cancel all your subscriptions, tell your friends you're sorry you can't go see the new Marvel movie, and read comics at the library instead. Remember, it's just for 30 days. See how far you can get towards your goal. Then maybe take a week or 2 break to catch your breath, go out for a nice meal or 2, then hit it hard again until you're done.
Yeah, treat yourself with a retirement account. There you go.
Now, congrats for making it all the way to the end of the video, because we're going to share a powerful little secret with you.
Really?
Saving up for an emergency fund requires you to be intentional, focused, and to live below your means.
Those are the same. That's the same. Now you can focus on retirement account. That's a secret, isn't it?
Which are the exact same financial muscles it takes to ultimately build wealth.
Right. So when you're finally done with this goal, awesome. Take those mad money muscles you just earned and use them to build something amazing on top of the foundation you just laid down.
Good.
And that's our 2 cents. Thanks to our patrons for keeping 2 cents financially healthy.
Click the link in the description if you'd like to support us on Patreon.
Excellent video. They hit on all the basics, everything that's important with emergency fund. Liked it. See ya.